Do you still feel like you're a person? Like everything you just shared, would you say that that's a representation of Reed?
So I don't really like it's hard to talk about this because it gets so neurotic so fast. Um, to start trying to like make distinctions between what I am, what I'm not, how I define myself, and all that kind of stuff. I find that things make the most sense to me when, like, I could put it in a simple way. I'm me. I'm here. I'm whole. I lack nothing. I'm not the mental character.
Right now.
Ever. Always.
Couldn't you say that that's impossible though, because you're a person in a body moving through time and space? There's a character and there's thoughts and language.
I didn't say I'm not any of that. I just said I'm not the mental character.
Right. Is it possible that the character could be saying that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I'm curious about.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. Like, to try to like drill into that, it gets wacky real fast because, like, all I can say, like, I'm me. There's no question about that. Like, and you start saying like I can say I'm not the mental character because that's just a thought. In order to think about things, the mind has to create a mental projection of me. In order to think about me, it has to have a concept of me. I'm not the concept of me. And the concept of me is what interacts with thought, and that gets corrupted by belief systems and stuff, and it gets further and further away from what I might actually be. So it's the fact is the mental me is not necessarily a helpful representation of me.
But
anymore.
it is what's happening though. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I ask all this because there was a guy that came on our last video, the one we put out a couple days ago, the last video with Double. A psychologist came into the comments and basically said everything we were talking about is completely absurd and pointless and, dare I say, he probably said harmful. And from what I could read from his comments, you know, he's coming from a place where he must have been done by the non-dual community or something. He said he used to teach non-duality. He's led thousands of courses, and he's just saying like, what you guys are talking about is completely absurd. It's a poor framework, yada, yada, yada.
Well, I would say like, I agree to an extent, and that's why I don't really promote that framework. Like how I just phrased it is about the simplest way I can put it. Like I said, it gets neurotic really fast. I experienced a lot of anguish when I got introduced to non-duality, because suddenly, wait, I'm not myself. I'm not supposed to be me. I'm this other thing. No, absolutely not. That doesn't make sense. But like I can say with certainty, I'm not a mental character. Now, what's saying that? Who knows? But I'm not me.
So, but it confuses me because last week we did half a show about having no head, you know, and like, what is this experience actually? And you actually said something. You said I am the whole in experience. You said something, and that was profound. That landed with me because that's what what seems to be occurring from my vantage point. That there is no one and nothing occurring. It's not a philosophy. It's not a framework. It's an experiential awareness of what's occurring.
Yes. Once you start trying to dump that into words, I guess, and like make a verbal yeah, exactly. I mean, my experience is that. What are you supposed to like? If you start talking about that too much, then it's just a mental character that is now at war with itself because it's saying, I'm not this.
So you're saying it's possible to assume that as an identity is what you're saying.
What? Assuming what?
Whatever it was that you just agreed with what I shared about.
Absolutely. Yes. And that becomes an identity in itself. And then there's again the separation where like it gets really, I think it can get really weird and confusing. I think for most people I know for myself, when I first encountered this kind of idea, it just created this thing that I wasn't, that I have to become, but I actually am that, blah blah blah. And so the mental state just gets fragmented even further.
Right. Okay. Okay.
So
So
it's like, yeah,
I had like the backwards experience when I first found out about all this stuff. It was just like, finally, dude, finally something is actually making sense to the way in which I experience myself. It wasn't,
yeah.
I didn't have to learn anything. I got to just like be like, oh, fuck, great.
Well, so here's what happened to me, and I encountered it. I went out the bookstore the other day, and I've had this desire to like reread The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, just because I read it 8 years ago at the beginning of all this, and all this stuff I read at the beginning, I didn't get, and so like now I'm curious, like what were these guys actually saying that I clearly didn't get? I just kind of want to understand, because I know the message I got, which was warped. Like, what were they actually saying? But then I read the first few pages of Eckhart Tolle's book. I'm like, great, no wonder I was fucked up. He spends the first part of the book is like reinforcing the problem and the false identity. And it's like, but if you see this thing, then you'll get this great happiness and reward. And so like I read that stuff, and then like I'm trying to get not being me so that I can get this freedom over here. And I think the only thing that's changed for me is that I but I saw what was already the case. It's like these books and teachers, it's like I wasn't even aware of there was a problem until they gave me this problem.
So what were you doing then? What was the interest in reading the books and all that? What were you?
Because it promised the freedom I was looking for.
What was the freedom? Freedom from what?
Anxiety, fear, discomfort, pain, like everything. Like there's this idea of enlightenment thrown around in different terms, but everyone says it. It's like this other thing you don't have, but if you get it, oh, but you do have it, but not really, because if you got it, here's how you'd experience life. I'm like, I want to experience life that way.
Right.
I'm not now, so I obviously don't have what it is that you're talking about. So I go on this quest to look for what they're talking about, and then I get tired of all that shit and drop it, and then I'm like, oh wait, yeah, I'm already that. What the problem? Like my biggest, and this goes back to the topic I was talking about, like real happiness is having real problems. Like I realized, like my only problem for the last X years was this spiritual search for my own tail that I got sent on by these teachers, or at least misunderstood. Like that was my only problem. I realized that all the time now. I start like thinking about the stuff, but then like in a personal, real way. And then like yesterday I was like on the porch and I was like, oh yeah, I don't have any problems. Like I just like, I'll forget. And then I remember, I was like, oh yeah. Because if I start thinking about this is why I try not to like talk about this stuff too much or in too specific of a way, because I think the mental activity will latch on to this idea of other that it needs to be again, and it'll start spinning, like doing burnouts, and then that's painful. And then it's like, okay, but if I just find this thing, then the pain will stop or whatever. Then it's like, oh yeah. But the problem doesn't exist.
Right.
Like the mind is generating the thing it's trying to escape from.
So
However you need to see that, in whatever way, just see that.
yeah, it's a curious. What you're describing is a curious occurrence, a phenomenon, or something that happens that, and I think it can be framed in a lot of different ways. the one that comes to mind right now is being a young adult in the world, trying to, you're told car, house, job, marriage, kids, you're told all these things, college, whatever it may be. And so you're trying to find a point or a reason or something that will create this happiness that you described. Because so you have one end, you have the material goal that is presented by society as a form of happiness. And on the other hand, you've got this esoteric goal that's presented through these spiritual texts as a form of freedom and happiness.
Same exact thing.
So you don't like the material, so you move towards this one, but it's both trying to make sense of existence itself and well-being itself. And I think what happens is, as young adults, we just have a shitload of energy. We don't know I don't know where to direct it. I don't know what to do with it. I get texted by a girl and I'm like terrified. What do I say back? I get an opportunity for a job and I go into the interview sweating the whole time because I don't know what I'm actually wanting or who I actually am, And I think it's just energy.
Yeah. I see that the problem's the same. You're a kid, you're told you have to be all these things, and then you're unhappy because you're not all those things. Because first you were given a list of impossible things to be in the first place. But there's like this ideal version of every form of social role you're supposed to fill, and then with we try to find an escape through spirituality, and then we're given a new set of ideals we're supposed to be that we're not. It's the same exact thing, but it's a bigger problem because those things don't have fucking solutions. You can get a car, you cannot get whatever. I don't even know what you're trying to get with spirituality, but like there's not tangible steps to go achieve something. I can buy it. There's steps I can take to buy the bigger house and then find out I didn't actually care about a bigger house. There's not really tangible steps I can take to like get it enlightenment. I don't know. Whatever it is.
Yeah, it's a tough one because it's all feelings based, and we don't really the feelings aren't really.
No, our guidance system's broken anyway. Tracy actually got married to a person that's not so great in the past, not now, because she literally believed, like we were talking about this the other day, she literally believed it would make her happy to get married, like that she was supposed to, and she'd be happy if she got married because that's what her family says, friends, society. She was literally following the prescribed path, and she was miserable.
Dude, one of the best stories I've ever heard was when we were at the Rock Retreat a couple years ago, and we were in this men's group talking about powerlessness, and this guy shared that, he is 15, 20 years sober, and he shared that he had just 2 weeks ago got on his knees and proposed to his girlfriend on the beach, even though he didn't want to get married. I was like, what? And he was like, he teared up. He was crying because he's 15 years sober doing things he doesn't want to do still.
Yeah.
And the way he described it was, her family, his family, there were all these forces that collided that he believed were necessary to produce that.
Yeah. If I was going to say I teach or want to teach anything, it would be something practical, and that's how seeing the fact that belief systems are controlling how you think, feel, and act, and that at a very practical level, these things can be seen and discarded. All the shit other people want you to be, that's fucking bullshit. That anyone else is going to try to give you a plan for how you're supposed to be. That's absurd bullshit. Toss that shit out. Get rid of all that stuff. Find out who you actually are, like in a practical way. What do you actually like? What do you actually think? What do you actually believe, if anything? Start from there. And then if the stuff other people are prescribing seems to make sense and fit, adopt it. adopt whatever system you want, but start with nothing and then adopt what makes sense. But man, how is anyone ever going to be happy when inside their brain they've got 80 different opinions about who they're supposed to be? You're telling me you can be happy? You satisfy one, you're contradicting another. It's a no-win situation.
Yeah, and my experience, my experience was I saw everything you described, and so I would create my own images of who I needed to be. Also,
well, then we also make our own.
Yeah.
But those are also based on these belief systems too.
And I would actually say that they are based on the belief system, but I would also say, at least for me, it was productive, because I'm sitting here now, 38 years old, talking to you, and there's like, if I were to pull up my phone and show my like bucket list, there's nothing on there. Everything I ever wanted to do, I created an image of the guy that could do that and then did it. Yeah. So I'm burned out. I got burned out to the point to where I could actually get the message that all these teachers have been talking about forever. It's like,
well, a lot of people don't get that message. I'm the same way. I got I've done everything basically, but like a lot of people do everything and then want a bigger version of everything. Like it keeps going forever.
Oh, right.
Like
more.
Because that's a process that doesn't have an end or a satisfaction. That can ever stop is essentially a miracle. And
so I was lucky that nothing ever worked out. Is what you're saying?
Yeah. I'm in a way. But now you can build something with more clarity. You can let
me ask you this. There was a question from one of our someone on TikTok. And I thought it was interesting. I'd like to bring it into the conversation. He was asking, he said, where do you guys bring spirit into your conversations?
I've thought about this because have we ever said our channel's about spirituality? Have you ever made that claim? I think you have.
Mm-mm. Awareness, meditation, mindfulness, and philosophy.
I used to think this was spirituality. When I first began, I thought this was spirituality, and what I see now, or how I see it now, is this. I think it's purely psychology. I think it's just what we're talking about is the mind that's wrapped up in itself and untangling itself, like twisted thoughts untwisting. I just see it as practical psychology, really. I'm not sure it has anything to do with spirituality.
Interesting.
Because this is practical stuff. Like there's no supernatural required to talk about or explain any of the things we discuss. I think that's just kind of a vestigial remnant of a time when people didn't really have a basic understanding of the brain or psychology. And so, I mean, you don't need to bring spirituality into meditation or inquiry or nature of self at all. There's nothing supernatural about it. It's like it's supernatural in the sense that it's supernatural. It's very natural. It's completely natural. Is there a supernatural? I'm not sure that term makes sense because that suggests something that exists outside of nature or above nature, but spirit would be a part of nature 100%. I would say there's the unnatural, which is the shit we create with our mind, and we're surrounded by it, but at the same time, it's still natural. But if we talk about spirit or spirituality, yeah, I think that what I would say that's when we become, or we're trying to intentionally align ourselves with this. I think there is a guiding and positive force or intelligence at the back of things that an individual can seemingly hook into or not. And I know in my life, when I've sought to align myself with this greater thing and less with the mind or the world, things move in a more positive direction. And I see synchronicities and things line up in a way that aren't possible for a human human individual to plan or conceive of prior. So I think there is a force behind the scenes which someone can choose to align themselves with, and then see the evidence or results of that decision. And the stuff we're talking about here might or might not help someone interface with that. So like my experience, that stuff is real. And what it is, I don't know. I only know the effects I've experienced as a result of encountering that. Yeah?
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I think you knocked it out of the park. I feel the same way. I don't, and I agree with what Bird said too. Bird says, I think spirituality is just one of those poetic words that people use to describe something that satisfies or calms the mind and being. So it's that's a good thought, because you can have that without deep awareness or understanding of your own mind and your own being. You can latch onto spirituality as a means of coping with something that has not been addressed.
Yeah. It's just for some reason there's this weird blurring of the lines between like inquiry and psychology of this type and spirituality. I don't know why meditation and inquiry, nature of self, gets lumped into spirituality, because I really think spirituality is about God and aligning oneself with God, regardless of your understanding or what it may or may not be. And then what I'm doing is just simply like maybe correcting errors in my own equation.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's weird. Like, I was trying to think while you were talking, like, why do these forms of self-examination or insight or awareness, why do they get lumped in with this spiritual stuff?
Because I think it's related to these practices. People do have encounters with the divine. But
that's what happened to me. By doing these practices, I encountered the divine.
Right. So, I've had divine encounters. But I wonder if too, that's not a natural, the mind experiencing. It's some kind of experience that's filtered through an existing spiritual belief system. But I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think we just answered the question, like, why spirituality? Because doing this type of work could bring someone into a union with the universe itself, and that's inherently spiritual.
It could be that just these are ancient topics and practices, and from a time when people, like I said, didn't have any kind of significant or advanced understanding of a brain or a mind or a thought process, you're gonna give it terms like supernatural, God, like, you're gonna use language that expresses something inconceivable at the time. But now we can think of things in terms of thought and belief systems.
But fundamentally, in all moments, no one knows what the hell's about to happen. So everybody's having to trust fall into the unknown at all moments.
Yeah.
And existence itself is completely absurd.
Yeah, there's something rather than nothing, and this something has an order and a pattern to it.
Yeah, we're not torn into trillions of pieces floating all over the place.
Right. So that, to me, that kind of pokes holes in the idea that everything is illusion, because there's obviously something real it maps to if there are observable patterns and laws at work.
Damn.
If it was actually illusion, there's no real reason it would be cohesive or orderly in any way. Like, there seems to be a linear time is an illusion or whatever, but yet it seems to map to some kind of predictable pattern. That doesn't make sense for like chaos to just produce predictable patterns.
Yeah, dude, you're spot on. That's why the whole, I guess that whole Hindu or the expression from the Upanishads that everything is a dream and everything is illusion is not real.
Well, it doesn't make sense because there's got to be something dreaming then, but not just dreaming. That dream is based on observable laws.
Dude, it's so trippy.
But
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. It's so what is this thing that's latching on to? There's two things that are true at once that I'm seeing right now. One, you can't grab onto anything. So it almost feels like we're a log that's burning, and everything that we're seeing is the flames or the smoke, but it's they're all connected. So we're looking at smoke or looking through smoke as a burning log.
mm,
And so everything's disappearing at all times, but it's very real because it's just had arisen from this source. So it's very real right now, right now, right now, right now, right now. But there's this thing that's grabbing onto it. You know what I mean? That's saying that happened. That just happened though. Or saying like, well, this is this is supposed to happen at 10 o'clock. What is? It's so weird.
I think it's just a headless process that uses personal pronouns. It's a headless program in the sense there's a process running there's no entity behind the process. ChatGPT.
Right, but
ChatGPT
what
says I
is
am me
but what is I don't understand why it would grab onto anything.
because that's the only way you can survive the winter.
Yeah, but it's grabbing smoke. And it is smoke. It's weird.
It's not smoke when the thought tells me I'm going to need food next year. I need to plant some crops now and put them in a root cellar so that I can survive the snow that I think is coming. So like the thoughts, while ephemeral, still map to a
Oh,
reality that comes around.
oh shit. Okay, now that's even weirder.
Yeah. So
Birds
it's
Go ahead.
no.
Bird says early humans lived in a chaotic world, being preyed on, looking for food to stave off hunger, finding a mate, staying safe, etc. It seeks structure to anchor themselves in a hostile world. So it's orienting, it's mapping itself to reality, an unknowable experiential being, but you're able to map into it as it materializes as nature itself, so you can know what's going on in your environment, and you can you can do things to prepare for your own survival. And so this is kind of what we touched on last week, is what has happened is because those needs have been met, now it just starts grabbing at things that are completely unnecessary. And this would explain why the Maoris, what the I can't remember the name of the tribe in the Hawaiian Islands or whatever, but they can get on a boat with no map at all and just know where to go to get to another island intuitively.
Thought maps to something real.
Even
But
when
it gets messed up because it mistakes concepts for being real because it maps to concepts of the abstract representations, and that's what I mean when I'm not the mental character. Thoughts are not real. A thought about something is not real. It's a thought. I don't This cup is represented by a mental abstraction. It's been turned into a concept, right, in order to think about it. And that concept has attached to it the baggage of past experience, opinion, all that kind of stuff. So that's why thinking gets warped, is because I'm not actually thinking about that object. I'm thinking about that plus whole string of baggage.
have you ever
So,
so you're bringing to mind a couple interesting things. The first one is, have you ever been around a farmer
yeah,
working on their field? So the craziest part is on a daily, monthly, seasonally basis, they know exactly what needs to happen. When they share it with us, it becomes a concept. But to them, it's not. To them, it's intuitive, experiential understanding and awareness in alignment with nature. They share it out loud. The moment it gets shared, it becomes conceptual, right? So
Right.
I guess what I'm seeing is, because people have been asking about city powers and things like that. Like I can visualize these early human intuitive aligned people in complete alignment with nature itself, able to navigate 150 miles of ocean to get to an island just through their sense intuitive connection with reality itself. And then they'll, yeah, but then talking about it, it becomes a concept. It doesn't, what is real knowledge and knowing that can guide our actions and our behaviors when spoken of become conceptual.
Well, that's everything like we're talking about on the show, really, is like, and that's why like some of these concepts I don't like to talk about too much. It's because it's experiential. When it becomes knowledge or a concept or shared, it's heard as like a rule or a system, and it's not that. Like the farmer, the good farmer knows what to do. The bad farmer is just repeating what the first farmer told him. And then they're going to be like, why did my crops fail this year? I was following like the the what you told me. It's like, well, you didn't adapt to this or that. So, I mean, so here's the question. Someone in chat was talking about early humans in a chaotic environment needing some kind of anchor or stability, right? Why? That's the question. Why do we need some kind of stability? What needs it? Is it the person that's a natural part of the environment, or is it this mind that can project the future, or wants to understand, or wants to think about things?
Here's Bird says, requote, early humans lived in a chaotic world, being preyed on, looking for food to stave off hunger, finding a mate, staying safe, etc. It seeks structure to anchor themselves in a hostile world. So it's less about patterns, more about structure. I think I misrepresented what he was saying.
I think that's how you build a society, village, or civilization. But do we have to apply that same order and structure to ourselves? Or is that
Um,
where the confusion arises? I've got to follow a pattern. I've got to be this. I've got to be according to a structure.
so I could just speak about my recent experiences as I've slowly let go of my own thoughts or concepts about who or what I am or what this is. As I've let go of that, it seems I've naturally fallen into a structured existence through all my best against all my best efforts. My whole life has been trying to avoid a structured existence. But the moment I stopped all that, I have now am experiencing a regular structured existence.
Absolutely. The organism has patterns. Like it wants a structured existence. It has natural things it wants to naturally do. And think like it's its own propensities and desires, and like all the cells in an animal follow a structure. They're not doing their own thing. That's our one of the sources of our unhappiness. We're fighting against the structure we perceive for whatever reason.
So then that would explain why the ant watching Survivor is content, is because a lot of us can naturally just fall into a structure, right, without having issue.
Yeah. The issue is not the structure. I think the issue is imposing the structure psychologically on yourself. Like you said, you've fallen into the structure without effort. It's what is naturally happening. But you're not applying that to who you are or what you need to do or how you need to be or what you lack or don't lack, right? It doesn't have anything to do with any of that. But I think once we see patterns in the natural world, and then this idea of ourselves starts applying those patterns to itself.
Mm.
I don't have a structure. I don't have a pattern. I'm this. What is there to be patterned or structured?
Well, the organism.
Sure, yes, that's it.
Yeah.
But yet, my organism, this organism being here, being in Atlanta, being happy, being sad, being on the moon, being 100 years old, 1 year old, I'm not different. My nature hasn't changed in any of those circumstances. I'm not different today than I was being a depressed kid, 17, living in my parents' house. The mind has changed. The body has changed. Location has changed. I'm still this. So how can what's formless have a pattern? And I'm just going to throw that word out there, but this is formless. That doesn't mean I'm nothing. It doesn't mean I'm something other than, like we'll start adding meaning to that it doesn't have, but like this doesn't have any quality.
Good morning, double.
So I'm free to be a part of any physical pattern because I'm not changing. I'm not moving. I'm always here, oddly enough.
So people get wrapped up in the I, the I that you're saying. Could you the I is this basically. It's your location?
What? Well, so I find a few things. I find that I seems to be inexorably related to this and here. Because I never find myself not here. I never find myself apart from this. This is never not here. I am never without this. Like once you start, like, that's suspicious, right?
Very.
Like, wait a second. Here is always here. This is always this. I am always I. They seem to same. They don't have any qualities in themselves other than this. Like, it's like, wait a second. So what's the differentiator between here, this, or I? Because I haven't been able to identify a form or a quality that would form the boundary. So you've got like three seemingly different concepts that actually I can't identify a distinction where they would differ, and they're always present. So maybe those concepts are referring to the same thing.
Yeah, the screen that the movie plays on, or the log that the fire burns on.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, I'm me. I'm I. I'm not other. I'm not different. I'm not this other thing I'm gonna find. Like, I'm not a concept.
Have you seen have you watched the show Pluribus?
Mm-mm.
So the whole concept of the show is aliens come to the planet and they travel on an asteroid that has like an asteroid hits or something lands that has a bacteria on it, and it infects a person, and then they make more of it to infect more people, and the whole planet becomes a union of consciousness. That's the show. So there's no longer individuality. Everybody is a hive mind that feels, thinks, and sees through all vantage points, through all of 7 billion people on the planet.
But I'm guessing people are trying to resist it while it's happening.
There's 11 people that it didn't take, and then 9 of them are just like totally fine with it because all those other pluribuses take care of them because they can't harm anything, Then the other 2 are like, this is not right. We are losing our individuality. We need to fight against this.
Yeah, they're the unhappiest people on the planet. Let's fight. This is terrible. I'm going to retain my right to be miserable.
But so I can see what they're fighting for, because when everybody's one, like, okay, this is why, because you just described this here that we all are, right? We all have access to this background screen out of which all phenomena arises. We're all experiencing that. Yet
Maybe other people. I don't know about other people.
well, I can say I am and you can say you are,
Yeah,
correct?
that's enough.
Okay, but I'm talking to you because you're not me. You're Reed. There's unique aspects of your vantage point from which seeing occurs
Mm-hmm.
that is like I wouldn't it's
I'm not. Yeah, it's like I. I'm not saying there's no individuals. I'm not saying there's different people. Like, I'm just talking about what I find. That's a lot of these teachers and stuff will insist that their experience applies to you and everyone, and that all this shit. I'm like, no, we seem to be talking. Like there's some. I don't know.
yeah, isn't that weird?
No, it's not weird. It's just weird when we've also been conditioned by spiritual teachers to think it's there's supposed to be some kind of oneness where there's no individuals or something.
What I was thinking about the reason pluribus is the pluribus occurring on that planet kind of sucks is because everybody knows everybody's thoughts at all times and everybody knows everybody's story and experience. Like their entire brains have melded. But what's happening here on this actual reality plane of existence is we have the background awareness, but I don't know. I get to learn about who Reed is. I get to learn about Double's experience navigating the terrain, or Bird's experience navigating the trying to like. This is why the show, for me at least, is the philosophy. Like it's like learning how to navigate the terrain with this. Every person has to figure out what their biology, their chemistry, their conditioning, what is required for them to navigate or find well-being on a territory that can be very confusing and misleading.
Yeah, it's an individual journey. Maybe some of the stuff that I found on my journey can help someone on theirs, or maybe not.
Right.
It's like I found a cool walking stick. I walk with it for 5 miles, and then I leave it leaning against a tree for the next person to use, or not. Maybe there's no hikers behind me for the next 1,000 years.
And you're just another traveler leaving their stick on a tree.
Yeah.
I was talking, me and Double were talking on Discord. Let me know what you think about this, Reed. Me and Double were talking about maybe in the future starting like a Discord meeting for a person to bring their own topic, not recorded or anything, but just like to talk about stuff. What do you think about
Sure.
that?
Sure.
But yeah, we will return next Friday, 10 a.m. I'm going to leave us with a cover of one of my favorite songs by one of my favorite bands. The group is called The Whitest Boy Alive. And these are guys in Japan just covering one of their songs from their album Dreams. And the song is called Golden Cage. Thanks for hanging. See you all next week.